and welcome to another session of the online classes for geography. Now in the last class, we discussed about the irrigation, a need for water in India, apart from that the factors related to that, okay, and also the various multipurpose projects and the importance and the main reason behind the installation or the setup of so many multipurpose projects in our country. Now we move on with the next, that is the various means of irrigation. Now in the last class, I discussed about the different modes of irrigation, all right, like tank irrigation, canal irrigation, wells, tube wells. Okay, so these are the different means of irrigation that are adopted to fulfill the demands in the agricultural field, especially, all right, and also apart from that, there are other various uses. Now, wells, as we are all aware of, okay, a well which is as such one of the major factor or the condition required for well irrigation is that the soil has to be soft and the level land so that the digging of the well can be easier, right? Now here we have a well is a small hole dug in the surface of the earth to obtain water for irrigation, or that is for agricultural purpose, right? Now as such, areas that are related for or where you find well irrigation is especially, as I said, that is the northern plains, that's dominated by well irrigation, like we have UP, Bihar, Haryana. These are some of the places. Now as such, you have to remember for all these, just remember you have to know advantages and disadvantages of the different means of irrigation. Now for well irrigation, the advantage is, now there are different means of irrigation. We start with the wells, then canals, tanks, right? So one of the things is that why wells in northern India, why is it dominated? Or why is it more prevalent in northern India, like more of tank irrigation in southern India? So there are certain geographical features, all right, factors you can say. One of the factor over here in northern plains is that the flat level plains and the perennial rivers of the north allows the digging of the well to be much more easier. So here for all these different means of irrigation, remember to know its advantage as well as disadvantage, right? Now in case of wells, we have surface wells which are lined and unlined, or in other terms it's also known as lined wells are known as pakka wells and unlined wells are known as kacha wells, right? So lined wells which are laid with the bricks and cementing properly, it is done so that the seepage is less, whereas and this the water from this kind of a well, okay, it's used for domestic purpose, for all kind of purpose, like for drinking purpose also, because it is clean. But unlined wells are those where they do not have a proper lining inside, and this water can be used. It is the cheapest form, just digging off of the well, but this can be used only for irrigation or for other purposes, not fit for drinking, right, because it is muddy in nature. Now advantage is that wells can be dug at very low cost. That means you can say it is cheap. It is a cheap form of irrigation. And another one is that it occupies less space compared to tanks. Now we'll do the comparison. Disadvantage is that open well can irrigate only a small area. Compared to that, canal irrigation can irrigate a larger area because it runs through the fields, or it covers a very long distance. So comparatively, it can irrigate a larger area compared to surface wells. All right. So wells, as I said, there are two. One is surface well, other one is tube wells. But one of the thing is that surface wells also we find lined and unlined, as I said, pakka and kacha wells, right? Now tube wells, what are tube wells and where is it more prevalent? As I said, it is in northern India, but mostly it is in northwest India, because tube wells as such, the boring has to be done. It's not just digging. We are talking about the boring of the tube wells, right? So it is done in such a way where the boring is done at a very, very deep let's say at a very, now the next, as we see, tube wells, all right. These wells are, this kind of irrigation, tube well irrigation is, again, it is mostly in UP, Bihar, Haryana, especially those regions where where there's less water supply. So the drilling of the well is done at a great depth, right? And the water, this is the cleanest form of water. And if you have to compare the area, as I said, tanks occupy a large area, wells also, but the least area that is occupied, or it's taken up the space in terms of space, is that is tube wells, which occupies a very less space, or it can be done at a least area also. Now these are deep bore drilled into the ground manually or with the help of, normally it is done with the help of the drilling machine, because it has to go right deep inside, right? So a lot of time is spent on that. So that is why it is done at that in the particular manner by machines, by drilling machines, right? Now the advantages as such, it can irrigate a much larger area. Now we find hand pumps, which you must have seen, especially along the in the plains along the roadside, where you have this kind of a hand pump where you need to just pump it up, and then as you see, the water comes out. Now if you look at this kind of water, this system of fetching water, this is the cleanest form. It's very, very clean, right? Now as such, the disadvantage is, one of the disadvantage that in case of tube well irrigation is that the farmer has to spend a lot of money on the electricity. Electricity consumption is more. So that becomes expensive, right? Then we move on with the canal, all right? Now here in canal irrigation, you see, there are perennial and inundation canal, or its inundation also known as the seasonal canals. There are two types of canals. One is perennial, from the word itself. Perennial means that there's water supply throughout the year. And the other one is inundation, also known as seasonal canals, where the water can be used only during the rainy season, or when it is, when the canal gets over flooded. Otherwise, rest of the year, these seasonal canals are not much in use. Now perennial canals as such, these canals are taken out from here, I'm just reading it out, by constructing barrages along the perennial rivers. Now advantage of canals, we are talking about the perennial canals, from the word itself, perennial canal. So one of the advantages is what? They provide water throughout the year. That is one. So if they ask you for one advantage of perennial canal, you don't have to look into the book. From the term itself, from this word itself, what can you say? You can say that it carries or it supplies water throughout the year. And apart from that, these canals can also act as a cheap mode of water transport also. Inland transport, right? Now disadvantage of the perennial canals are that the canal construction involves great construction cost. So the initial cost is high. Canal means, suppose for some kilometers down or let's say crossing the states or within the states. So imagine the entire canal where you need to have a proper laying of the bricks, proper cementing, so that there's no seepage, right? So the initial cost is high. The initial cost for this is high, and lots of cultivable land. Since the canal, as you know, it's not a small one. So like some of these canals, like we talk about the Indira Gandhi Canal in Rajasthan, one of the largest, covering such a long distance, and of course it has its advantage also that it supplies water to many states in and around surrounding that region. So the initial cost is high. Apart from that, it actually uses up much of the agricultural land also, because it cuts through. Okay, so that is the disadvantage of perennial canal. Now we move on with the inundation canals, all right? These canals are seasonal, also known as flood canals. They are called flood canals. Why? Because they can be used only during the monsoon season, or only it is used. These canals can be used only when there's overflooding in the rivers or the canal that carries water, right? Now, one of the advantage of inundation canal is that they can be used in order to control floods to a certain extent. Apart from that, as such, one of the disadvantage, now over here for inundation, you can say disadvantage of inundation canal is what? Since I said inundation is seasonal of flood canals, what can you say? Inundation canal, the disadvantage over here could be, you can write it as these canals are not used throughout the year and can be used only during a short period of time, that is only when the rainfall is heavy. So that could be that can be the disadvantage. But advantage over here for perennial canal is what? That the water can be used. Now over here it's an advantage, but for inundation seasonal canal, this particular one could be used as a disadvantage, right? Now as such, these canals are mostly Rajasthan, that's dominant, as I said, that's the Indira Gandhi Canal, okay, one of the longest one, and also as such aiding or providing water to a very large area, and comparatively many states benefit from this particular canal, right? Now last one we come to is tank irrigation. Now these tanks are found, these are natural pits and depressions that are found in peninsular India, that is in southern India, in the Deccan hilly region. So these tanks get filled with water during the monsoons, so it can be used for irrigation. So there's no initial cost is not there. There's no, as such you can say that this is the most, this can also come under the cheap form of irrigation, because the initial construction cost and all is not there. Like in case of the lined wells, you need to have that. Tube wells also, you need the boring, all right. Apart from that, in case of canals, as I said, canals also the initial cost is high, because it has to be maintained for a very long distance. But in case of tanks, okay, it's a depression or a hollow or a reservoir. In general terms, you can say as a small reservoir. So these kind of depressions and pits can be found in the Deccan Plateau area. So during the monsoons, these tanks get filled with water and it can be used, right? One of the advantages that it can be as such, okay. This also comes under the cheap form of irrigation, mode of irrigation, because the initial cost is not there. But the disadvantage is that it occupies a very large area which could have been used for agriculture or for cultivation, right? And another thing is that a part of the water, since it's open, it's exposed, a part of the water gets evaporated, because as you see, the Deccan region lies in the tropical area. Since it lies in the tropical area, much of the water gets evaporated, right? Because this is as I said, in the tropical region. Apart from that, another thing is that it can cause water pollution also, because it's exposed, open, right? In the same manner, even for wells, it can also, one of the disadvantage for surface wells could also be leading to water pollution, because it is exposed, it's out, right? Now the cleanest form, as I said, that is why, as I said, the cleanest form is directly into the hands is from tube wells, because the water is drawn from deep inside and directly it comes to use. And even in terms of space that you occupy, tube wells is the form of irrigation that occupies the least area, okay. So tanks as such, why in peninsular plateau area only? You don't find tank irrigation dominating other areas, but why in southern India? Because already I've given you the reasons behind it, okay. That is because in peninsular India, existence of hard bedrock makes it difficult to dig canals, wells and all. It's not possible, hilly regions, right? Apart from that, these hard structure, crystalline hard rock structure, it acts as it does not allow the water to seep. It's very, very hard in nature and it holds the water, okay. So in these depressions, in these pits or in this hollow structure, water gets filled. So tank irrigation is common. Now as I said, the tank conserves rainwater by minimizing the surface runoff. Apart from that, the construction cost of tank is generally low, or you can say it is less. Hardly this initial cost is almost nil, because you don't spend anything on the construction of dams, right? Now, the disadvantage of, again, as I said, tank irrigation is that tanks are large open space where rainwater is stored and much of the water is evaporated up here, and they depend on the monsoons for much of the water collection. Otherwise, rest of the year in the tanks, there are no other source of rainfall, nothing. Okay, so it's only during the monsoons. And apart from that, one of the disadvantage of tank irrigation could be that a lot of water is wasted because of evaporation, right? Now see, these are the 4 forms of means of irrigation. We have done wells, done canals, all right? Then, of course, tank irrigation also, right? Now, there are modern means of irrigation also. There are modern means of irrigation which have been adopted. And if you look at these means of irrigation, you'll find that one of the major thing here is water conservation, all right? They need to conserve water. Now, one of those as such, all right, is the sprinkler irrigation. It comprises a long hose whose one end is joined to the water while the other end is joined to the sprinklers. Now, this you see in the plantations or in very big fields where the water is supplied and with the help of the sprinkler, with those hose around, and the water, because of the force of the water, it rotates, all right? And apart from that, what happens? The water is supplied to the, this you see mostly in the plantations or in very, very large, let's say, areas, fields, where individual personally, like manually, it is not possible to water the plants. That is thing. Now, whether it is drip irrigation or whether it is sprinkler irrigation, now another age-old method of irrigation that they follow in Northeast is the bamboo system of irrigation. In these, remember, one of the thing is that one of the advantage which is common is to conserve water. Water conservation is one of the factor, right? Advantages is less wastage of water, okay? But disadvantage is that sprinkler irrigation, it can irrigate only a small plot of land. It cannot irrigate the entire region. So these are set up in different places in order to supply water to the fields, right? Now, another one over here is the drip irrigation. Water is provided directly to the roots, okay, of the plants by the means of these pipes. And why is it called drip irrigation is that, the system where the water keeps on dripping right at the roots, okay, instead of pouring of the water, it continues to drip, it continues to drop, and that is why this name has been given, that is drip irrigation. Now, it is most advanced and a very efficient method, and as such, again, there is minimum wastage of water. But of course, for sprinkler or for drip irrigation, one disadvantage could be that you require, you need to give a regular inspection is required, and sometimes in order to check on the working of these modes of irrigation, and you need to continuously see to it, all right? Now, but remember, drip irrigation is one which cannot be used for commercial farming. This is mostly on a smaller scale, the drip irrigation system of farming, right? And another one is the bamboo system of irrigation, where from the source till the field, this bamboo as such, all right, they are all connected together, and water is released, and then it comes down and it can irrigate the fields. But again, this is one age-old method of irrigation. But apart from that, remember, one of the thing is that in this bamboo system of irrigation, after few years, once the bamboo as such, it will get rotten. So after every 4 to 5 years as such, you need to replace the entire system together. So that is the disadvantage. Otherwise, again, this is also a method we do not follow in most parts of India, but it is mostly followed in Northeast India, especially to name a state, let's say Meghalaya, all right, they follow that. Now, see, as we have already discussed, what is the need for irrigation? Why is the need for water in water conservation? And what are the main reasons? Again, I'm coming back to it very quickly. Now, need for water conservation is because the overexploitation of groundwater reserves. And what is the main reason behind it? Again, it is overpopulation. Because of the overpopulation, there is immediate need for the conservation of water, right? Now, look at this over here, the watershed management. What is it? Watershed management refers to the efficient, I'm just reading it out for you, efficient management and conservation of both surface as well as groundwater reserves. Now, in all these things, if you look at it, rainwater harvesting we talk about, all right, rainwater harvesting is again a system of where water, instead of it as it going off as a surface runoff or so, all right, we store the water, all right, during the monsoon season as such, we don't face water shortage or there's no deficit, but during the dry season, so there is a system of water, rainwater harvesting. How do we do it? Right, here we have rainwater harvesting, which is a technique of increasing the recharge of groundwater by capturing or by, by preserving as well as storing it and then later on in the dry season to reuse it. Okay, that is reusing of the stored rainwater. Now, methods of rainwater harvesting, we have two, that is surface runoff harvesting as well as rooftop rainwater harvesting. Now, see, in case of the modern means of irrigation or for your rainwater harvesting, all right, water conservation, you have in your textbooks also the pictures that are given, like sprinkler irrigation, the picture is given, or let's say drip irrigation is given, the bamboo system of irrigation is given. Even in the same manner for your water conservation, we have the rooftop rainwater harvesting, all right. Other techniques, other pictures also related to rainwater harvesting is given. So you might get, because every year we've been getting picture study on this, on the different modes of irrigation, like a picture that can be given, and based on that you'll be asked questions, all right. So, what is the objective of rainwater harvesting? Again, it's like, it's like a cycle, like what I've already done for you, need for irrigation. So I'm quickly covering this portion, that is to meet the increasing demand for water. For whom? For the people, because the fact that our country is overpopulated, all right, because of the population. Apart from that is to reduce the groundwater pollution. In order to reduce that, rainwater harvesting is becoming necessary. Apart from that, if you see, like in southern India, all right, now when you construct when you have your buildings or construction of the houses, you need to have a proper plan, and that has to be approved by the municipality, all right. Now, in some of these states, like in Andhra Pradesh, just to name one, all right, they have started with the system of including the system of rainwater harvesting in the planning of the houses, and it is possible, right. So why this is done? Because see, most of the rainwater, even for in case during the monsoons, even just a small bucket, even just a small drum, or even just a container where you store water, that water could have gone as a just surface runoff, all right. But this water can be used, if not, I know it cannot be used for drinking, but it can be used for other household purposes, for other household activities, right. So that is how we are making use of the water which could have gone as a wastage, all right. So to reduce the groundwater pollution as well as water harvesting, rainwater harvesting is also a method to reduce soil erosion, that is conservation. Again it comes, see, it's connected, as I told you, climate with soils with natural vegetation. Now we've come to water resources. So all these are interconnected, right? Now, advantages of rainwater harvesting over here, reduces soil erosion, especially in the urban areas, improves the quality of groundwater, and it reduces the loss of fresh water by surface runoff. So these are some of the advantages of rainwater harvesting. The main advantage of rainwater harvesting is to prevent. Objective and advantages, actually, if you look at it, it's almost the same, right? So to reduce soil erosion, to reduce water pollution, all right? These are some of the advantages of rainwater harvesting. Now we have the method of groundwater recharge. What are they? There are so many. See here, recharge pits, bore wells, abandoned well. This is there in your textbooks also. Abandoned well where the water is stored, and then they have a proper way, a method, a mechanism in order to use this water again during the dry season, all right, where the water is stored. But there is a proper procedure, a proper method in, let's say, in collection of the surface runoff, the water during the monsoon season. Now, major states where rainwater harvesting is practiced, see, as I already told you, there are many places where rainwater harvesting is practiced on a major scale. So, remember, students, this is important here as such, that is, these system of irrigation, whether it is the sprinkler, whether it is the drip irrigation, whether it is the bamboo system of irrigation, or these are the modern methods of irrigation, which one of the major objective of this is to conserve water conservation, all right, because out of the, as we know, we receive a very, very less amount, the percentage of water that we get, fresh water for drinking purpose is less, and because of the increasing population and because of the urbanization and industrialization, the available water resources is also depleting. It is reducing, it is depleting, it is decreasing. So there's an immediate need. That is why we have the national water policy that was adopted by the government in order to make sure that they are one of the major objective of this national water policy is again conservation. All right. Now, if you look at these two pictures, this is what I'm talking about, the picture study, right? That is, yes, these are the picture study over here, where we have recharging of groundwater, where you can see the system over here, and the other one is rainwater harvesting. So you might get a picture like this, it's given, and based on that, these pictures are there. It's in your book, maybe a little bit of change, but it is the same. Look at the pictures, and based on that, you'll be given a question as to what does the picture depict, or where is it more prevalent, what is the advantages, or what is the disadvantage of it, or name. So these are some of the ones. Now, apart from that, as I told you, see, look at the first one over here. This is sprinkler irrigation. This is, look at this again, water dripping, this system, all right, which of course this system, drip irrigation, is not much in use for commercial farming, all right. But see, this is a very, very economic, very, very economic, as well as a good method of water conservation, because there's no wastage. It's just drip straight into the, with those straight down to the roots. That's how it is done. And look at this bamboo irrigation. This is what I was talking about, bamboo irrigation, where the water comes and then it's connected. So these are the modern means of irrigation. So based on that, look at these three, based on that, okay, these questions can be asked as to what is the picture about, okay, name the means of irrigation, or this one over here, this can be asked, all right. So as such, these, as I've already told you, the three, it's there with the pictures, all right, that is the modern means of irrigation. Now today I discussed, I told you about the, I explained to you, not told actually, it is explanation about the different means of irrigation and its advantages, disadvantages, what is rainwater harvesting, conservation of water, and then the modern means of irrigation, right. So with this, altogether, we end the chapter here on water resources. Please go through your chapters, and I hope you've made use of the time and also been conscious enough to make use of these classes. So with this, I end, and I'll see you again with another chapter in the next class. So till then, stay safe, and thank you. God bless you all.
Hi, welcome back to Class 10 Economic Application, ICSE 2021. In the last class, I discussed about the movement and shift of the demand curve. Under movement of the demand curve, we saw that the demand curve does not shift. There is movement along the same demand curve because the price changes and all the other factors remaining constant. For example, if the price rises, then there is a decrease in the quantity demanded, other factors remaining constant. Similarly, when the price decreases, falls, there is increase in the quantity demanded, and we also learned that is extension and contraction. Then we talked about shift. In shift, we have increase in demand and decrease in demand. What happens? The whole demand curve shifts either upwards, rightwards, or downwards, leftwards. Why does the demand curve shift? The whole demand curve shifts because there is a change in other factors. Price will remain constant. Now that was it on shifts and movements, and we took some examples of how, if a question comes, for example, if they say that the price of the complementary good increases, that is, we take an example of petrol. Petrol is the complement of petrol cars. So if the price of petrol increases, remember, when the price of petrol increases, the price of petrol car is same. There is no change in the price of petrol cars. Price remaining constant, but there is a change in other factors. Other factors means price of the complementary good, that is petrol. So if the petrol price increases, but the petrol car prices remain constant, what will happen? Since complementary goods prices rises, petrol price increases, demand for petrol car will decrease. So there is decrease in the demand for petrol cars. That is a shift. Similarly, if you were to take another case, for example, price of substitute goods. If there is a change in the price of substitute goods, then there is a shift in the demand. However, if the price of the commodity itself, changes, the price changes, other factors remaining constant, there will be movement along the same demand curve. So now we will start the next topic, elasticity of demand. I gave you just briefly of what it was in my previous class. So I come back again. Elasticity of demand. How elastic is demand? How elastic is demand, meaning that how much will the demand change? How much of the demand changes depends upon what is changing. There are three elasticity of demand. The first one is price elasticity of demand. If you want to know, the second which is there is income elasticity of demand, and the third is known as cross elasticity of demand. I will start price elasticity of demand. If you see this word price elasticity of demand, you will see there is price here. So there is a change in the price. If the price changes, then quantity demanded will also change, but by how much? For example, as I told you, a good like insulin for diabetic people, if the price of insulin shoots up by 50%, price increases by 50% for insulin, what will happen to the demand for insulin? You will say that it should fall by 50%. But it could be that though the price increases or decreases for insulin, the demand, the quantity demanded will remain the same. It will not change. Sometimes, for example, luxury goods like LED TV, prices slash discounts of 50%. When there is a discount of 50%, the quantity demanded for LED TV will shoot up by 100%. There is a big change if there is of this luxury goods demand when the price changes. But for goods like necessary, salt, even if the price increases or decreases, the quantity demanded will change by a little amount because it is a necessity good. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if the price changes, how much will this demand change? That means degree of responsiveness. Degree of responsiveness, how much the demand will change. So let's see the definition first. It is the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a commodity in response to change in price. The price changes, quantity demanded changes. How much it changes depends on the good. You have a list here which I am going to explain to you. I will start with the perfectly inelastic demand curve, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, then the fifth. These are shown to you, which I will explain. Now I will explain with the help of the blackboard here, whiteboard here. Okay, let's start from the board. Now, the first thing you should know about elasticity of demand is a very simple percentage formula. Price elasticity of demand is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. Okay. Now we'll start with the first example. I'm trying to explain to you perfectly inelastic demand curve. Perfectly inelastic means no change in the demand. The first case. Let's imagine that EP is equal to, let's take insulin, diabetic people. What happens? Let us say the price changes and the price increases by 50%. Price of insulin has shot up by 50%. Insulin for diabetic people, the prices have increased. If the price increases for diabetic people, what happens is, what will happen to the quantity demanded? Do you think people will stop buying it? No. This is a necessary good, very important good. So even if the price of insulin decreases or increases, there may be no change in the quantity demanded. Zero change in the quantity demanded, though the price has changed by 50%. Maybe increase in the price, decrease in the price, but the quantity demanded will not change. So 0 upon 50 is 0. We say EP is equal to 0. When EP is equal to 0, we say perfectly inelastic demand curve. If you want to look at the graph, this is your price, this is your quantity demanded, origin, x-axis, y-axis. Now notice there is a change in the price, but the quantity demanded will not change. The quantity demanded will remain constant at different prices. Even if the price increases or decreases, the quantity demanded will remain the same. So this graph, demand curve, is called perfectly inelastic demand curve. So if you want to know in short, it is with your hand you can say this. This is perfectly inelastic demand. Now remember that the demand curve is negative sloping. Negative sloping means the demand curve is going to be like this, which means since the demand curve has to be negative, this is your perfectly inelastic demand curve. Now this will make it positive slope, whereas this will make it negative slope. So the first thing is perfectly inelastic demand curve is like this. Now step by step you will make this fall down this way, negative sloping, not this way. This will be supply, so this side will be demand. The first one, here you can see perfectly inelastic demand curve, EP is equal to 0. This is your graph. Example, insulin. Now we go to the second one. So let's have a look here. Now let us say we go to inelastic demand curve. Second one, inelastic demand curve. Inelastic, not much of a change. Let's take an example. Let's take here, example is necessary good, salt. Example, salt, necessity good. Now we will say the price of salt has increased. How much has it increased price? The change is 50%. Price of salt has increased by 50%. When the price of salt has increased by 50%, the quantity demanded will decrease. But will it decrease drastically? Will people stop Using salt? No, people will continue using salt because it's a necessity. So what happens is, when the price increases by 50%, the quantity demanded for necessary goods like salt may decrease, but the decrease could be just, let's say, 20%, 10%, 30%, as long as the numerator is less and the denominator is more. So if you calculate this, you will see EP is 2 upon 5. 2 upon 5 is less than 1. So we say EP is less than 1. When we say price elasticity of demand is less than 1 means inelastic. Example, salt, inelastic. How's the graph? Let's have a look at the graph. As I told you, perfectly inelastic demand curve is like this. Now you have to make a negative sloping demand curve, so it has to fall this side. So make this fall slightly. It was previously here. Now we make it fall slightly. So what you have compared to the previous one is this. The demand curve has negative slope and it's slightly falling. Now let's see. You will notice the change in the price is so much, 50%. Change in the price is so much, but change in the demand, quantity demanded, change is very small. That means if the price of salt increases by 50%, the quantity demanded will decrease by say 10%, 20%, 30%, very less, very little. So here you can see delta P is greater than delta Q. Note that you write this, when you draw this diagram, you must show that delta P is greater than delta Q. This is delta P, this is delta Q. Greater than. This delta P is greater than delta Q. So this is inelastic. Now the next one I will do is unitary demand curve. Now unitary demand curve, you will have to make this demand curve fall more negative. So you have first one is this, second one falls, third one will fall, it will continue to fall. Let's do the next one. Now we will do unitary demand curve. Unitary, EP is equal to 1. Example, normal goods. Example, normal goods, TV, car, house, normal good. What happens here is, let us say that the price, the percentage change in the price falls by 50%. The price of TV, price of fridge falls by 50%. When the price falls, what will happen to the quantity demanded? It will increase. Price falls, quantity demand increases. The increase is exactly 50%. One. EP is equal to 1 unitary. Unity or unitary? 1. Unitary means 1. So EP is equal to 1. Normal goods, graph. Make the graph fall 1, 2, more. Delta P, change in the price. Delta Q, change in the price, quantity. You will see delta P is equal to delta Q. Change in the price, 50%. Change in the quantity, 50%, equal to 1. So delta P is equal to delta Q, unitary, example, normal goods. Now we will make this fall more. Before that, there is something extra you should understand in unitary demand curve. There is a topic called rectangular hyperbola. Now what is this rectangular hyperbola under unitary demand curve? Rectangular hyperbola simply means that if you were to take not a linear demand curve, if you take a graph like, okay, we can do that also, say this is the demand curve. If you see this area of this rectangle, if you calculate length into breadth, area of this rectangle, and you take another point anywhere here, and you also take this area of this, you will find the area of this rectangle and the area of this rectangle will be the same. That is called rectangular hyperbola. If you take another point here and find the area of this, the area will also be same, which means that EP is equal to 1, unitary, the demand curve is a rectangular hyperbola showing area under the demand curve at any point. If you want to find the area of this, it is same. And the next one. Now we will make the demand curve fall more down. Now an example here, elastic demand curve. For elastic demand curve, let us take a luxury good. Luxury goods are elastic. So we will take LED TV. Luxury good. If you look at a luxury good, it is very, very sensitive to price. If there is huge discounts or if the price falls, the quantity demanded will shoot up drastically. Vice versa, if the price decreases, or let's say the price increases, when the price increases, the quantity demanded will decrease drastically. Let's have an example here. LED TV example. Price of LED TV falls by 50%. 50% discount for LED TV. Price falls by 50%. When price falls by 50%, the change in this percentage change in the quantity demanded will be, let's say, 90%. 90% increase in the quantity demanded. So 90, 9 upon 5, it is greater than 1. 9 upon 5 is greater than 1, greater than 1. EP is greater than 1. We say this is elastic. Elastic demand curve, EP is greater than 1. If you want to look this diagram, we will draw this here, elastic. So you make this fall more. So what's happening? 1, 2, 3, 4. DD, price. The change in the price, 50% change. Change in the quantity demanded, 90%. Small change in the price has brought about huge change in the quantity demanded. We say delta Q, change in the quantity demanded, is greater than change in the price, delta P. So this is EP is greater than 1, elastic, example, luxury goods. And the next one will make the demand curve fall more. So we go to perfectly elastic demand curve. So we take an example here. Perfectly elastic demand curve takes place in competitive market, which you will know in forms of market chapter. You will understand what is perfectly elastic demand curve, where at a certain price everyone sells it, and if the price is slightly higher, then nobody buys it. So let's say that the price does not change. There is no change in the price. The price is same everywhere. It's a homogeneous product. Price, wherever you go, it is the same. There is no change in the price. Even if there is no change in the price, the quantity demanded can change. It could be anything, 20, 30, 40, 50, write any value, say 60%. 60 upon 0 is infinity. So EP is infinity. What is this for? Perfectly elastic. Perfectly elastic demand curve. EP, infinity, perfectly elastic. Now since your demand is falling 1, 2, 3, 4, now the last one here would be 5. So your demand curve is like this, parallel to the x-axis. This is your price. No change in the price. Price is same. But the quantity demanded may vary by any amount. What it means to say is, at this price, all the buyers are willing to buy at this price any amount. But if the price increases, there won't be any demand for this good. And you will learn in the chapter Forms of Market, this demand curve, perfectly elastic demand curve, takes place in a perfect competition. Perfect competition tells you the products are same, everyone sells at the same price. If you increase the price, nobody will buy, and companies will not sell the good at lower price. What if the price falls? Price cannot fall, because if the price falls, then the firm will face loss and it will not sell at a loss. So now you've understood the 5 different price elasticity of demand graphs. Let me tell you in short all the graphs together. So you have the first one, EP is equal to 0. Perfect elastic demand curve. We can take an example of insulin for diabetic people. Make this fall a little bit. EP is less than 1. When you draw your diagram, make sure you write delta P, delta Q, and also write delta P is greater than delta Q. This is important. Then you make the graph fall more. EP is equal to 1, unitary. That means change in the price and change in the quantity demanded, delta P is equal to delta Q. Make this fall more. Small change in the percentage of price, a huge change in the percentage of quantity demanded. What you need to write? Delta Q is greater than delta P. EP is greater than 1. Now make this fall more. Q1 demand. What can you say here? EP is equal to infinity. What is it about? This is perfectly elastic demand curve. So now you've understood the price elastic demand and the 5 graphs. If you were to take examples, you can give here insulin case, here necessary goods like salt, inelastic demand, unitary demand curve, EP is equal to 1, normal goods. EP is greater than 1, elastic demand curve, you can take luxury goods. And here, perfect elastic demand curve, you will hardly have any rare case, but you can take that these goods are sold under perfectly competitive market. So now you've understood what is price elasticity of demand. After this, I will explain to you in short, briefly, income elasticity of demand. Cross elasticity of demand is for class 12, so we will not do it. So you will learn simple calculation based on income elasticity of demand only. Details for income elasticity of demand is not part of the syllabus. Thereafter, after I explain to you income elasticity of demand briefly, I will start with the different methods of calculating elasticity of demand. That is price elasticity of demand, 3 methods: percentage method, geometrical method, and one more is there which may not be important, so we will do only 2. Well, that is all for today. I'll see you in my next class. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, this is again commercial application for ICSE 2021. Today we are going to do about what you see on the screen. So here you see different products of toothpaste. It is Colgate, Oral-B, Dabur, Dant Kanti, Dabur Red. So you are flooded with so many different kinds of product with different brands. So when you need to pick up one of these, you will definitely have a problem here choosing the right product. So how are you going to select the right product? The product that is required by you is guided by the name of the product or mark of the product. Either you select Colgate or Aquafresh, Vico, Dabur Red. So the product in which you have faith, in the product which you trust, you buy that particular product. The faith or the trust is created by what is called brand. And this is what we have today's topic. Today we are going to do meaning of brand and branding, importance of brand, brand promotion, and in the chapter called advertising and brand promotion. So here you see different things here on the screen. These are the identification marks which you find in the product, which guides you to buy the product. This is Baskin-Robbins. BR, in between BR you see 31. These are the marks. These are the identification marks, or these are the recognition, right? So 31 indicates what? 31 different flavors for 31 different days. So these are called the brand of the companies. So what is a brand? Brand means any identification mark used to identify the product of a seller and to differentiate it from other sellers. A brand name consists of words, numbers, letters, name, or it can also be symbols, design, and marks. Look at the screen here. Xerox, this is a word. 31, as I said, is a number. And here you have B and R is a letter. Look at the Apple here. This is the symbol. Microsoft, this is a design. So these are the different ways of giving the identification to different products. Now we need to differentiate a brand with that from that of a trademark. What is a trademark? A trademark is a legal term and refers to the brand which is registered under the Trade and Mercantile Marks Act 1958. The brand which is registered is known as trademark. And if the brand is registered, you have the exclusive right to use that brand. No other person, no other company has the right to use that mark, that name as a brand for that particular company. So you have the exclusive right if the brand is registered. What is branding then? We understood the meaning of brand. Brand is name, symbol, sign, whatever is given to a product in order to identify one product with that of another product. But here the term is branding. So branding is a process of giving a name, symbol, or design to a particular product so that particular product is identified in the market. So the consumers or the customers find it easier to take a buying decision. What are the merits of branding? What are the advantages of branding? Number one, it identifies a product. It helps the customers to distinguish one product with that of another product. It gives identity. It gives recognition. Next, it helps consumers to remember his brand or product. Next one, it helps consumers to recognize the product. It helps customer in taking purchase decision. Yes, if you remember the first slide, there was product of different brands. So this way a consumer gets confused as which one to buy. So branding helps the customer to take the right decision. It makes advertising possible. We come across lots of advertisement on the television or in the print media. So what makes advertising possible? It is the brand or the branding process that makes advertising possible. It ensures quality in the product. Yes, branding gives confidence to the consumer that yes, this product is of good quality. Why is branding important? It provides recognition. Branding provides recognition to the product, recognition to the company. That means people know about the company, people know about the product because of that symbol or the name given to the product. Increases business value. Generates new customers. Branding helps the product to capture new customers. Branding helps to introduce new product in the market. Creates trust in the market. That means brand builds confidence in the mind of the people. Supports advertising. So advertising cannot be possible without branding. There is branding, so there is advertisement. Improves employee pride and satisfaction. So every employee wants to get associated with a reputed company, with a branded company. So employees associated with a branded company, with a reputed company, gets a good feeling, right? They have a high morale. Protects consumer from paying more. The branding products have written MRP on the product, on the package. This MRP gives the idea of the price regarding that particular product. MRP is the maximum retail price that customers needs to pay. So no seller can charge a price higher than MRP. So this way, no seller will be able to overcharge the buyers. Reduce risk of purchase. Now what is the risk involved? Risks regarding the quality. So that will not. So now, why is branding important? It provides recognition. Branding provides recognition to both product as well as the company. It is through the name or symbol that people come to know about the product or the company. It increases business value. It increases sales of the product. Generates new customers. Branding helps the product to get introduced in the market for the first time, and also to increase the number of customers thereafter. Creates trust in the market. Supports advertising. Improves employees' pride and satisfaction. Every employees would like to get associated with reputed company. Branding provides a reputation. So it gives a good fill factor. It is a good fill factor for the employees to get associated with the reputed companies. It protects consumers from paying more, since MRP is mentioned in the branded product, so the customers know exactly how much to pay. So no sellers will be able to overcharge the customers. Reduces risk of purchase. Now since this is a branded product, so there is quality is always ensured. So the customers are assured of good quality. So now we go on to the essentials of a good brand. Number one, it should be attractive and appealing to the eyes. The brand name should be brief and simple. It should be easy to pronounce, spell, and remember. It should be suggestive of the utility of the product. That means the name of the brand should be related to the product that is being launched or that is being sold in the market. It should be distinctive and difficult to imitate. the brand, the name, symbol should not be very easy for other people to copy. It should remain constant for a reasonable period of time in order to gain popularity. That means once the symbol is designed or a name is given to a product, it should remain in the market for a long period of time so that it gains recognition and remains in the mind of the people for a long period of time. It should be capable of re-registration and legal protection. Now we'll go on to how to bring about brand promotion. But before that, let's know the meaning of brand promotion. Brand promotion means making a brand popular in the market. It helps in building market for the product and to meet competition. It is done by informing, reminding, persuading present and potential customers to purchase a particular brand. Brand promotion brings about these three things: brand loyalty, brand equity, and brand awareness. Now, what is brand loyalty? It is brand insistence. It is brand preference. I will always buy one particular brand. I'll always buy Nike. That's a brand loyalty. You stick to that particular brand. What is brand equity? It is value added to the product or the brand because of brand awareness, brand loyalty, because of brand quality and association with the brand. Then you have brand awareness. The meaning of it is your product is the first that comes to your mind in a certain product category. If you are thinking about different products and the brand, the name of the brand that comes to your mind in the beginning is your brand awareness. Like here, when you talk about jeans, what comes to your mind? Levi's. That's your brand awareness. How to bring about brand promotion? How to promote the brand? What are the different ways of making your brand popular? The methods are advertisement. Advertisement in newspapers, radio, TV, and other media are regularly given to make a particular brand well known among consumers. It is due to advertisements that Samsung Galaxy, Titan watch, or Honda car and other have become popular in the market. It's the repetition of advertisement. A regular advertisement on television or print media makes the brand popular. Next is quality control. Brands become popular and continue to enjoy the confidence of buyers only when the quality of the brand is maintained. And that is the reason why people have faith in the brand, because the quality is ensured. They know that when they buy branded product, they buy quality product or they get quality product. The third method is publicity. Now, what is publicity? Giving out information about a product, person, or a company for advertising or promotional purposes by media is known as publicity. It provides information more reliably. People trust more on what press reporters, journalists, news readers say independently via mass media. Customers assign more value to information supplied by the media and thus creates good image of the company. Now the branding strategies. There are two ways of branding. One is called umbrella branding, another one is individual branding. What is umbrella branding? Same brand name is used for all the related products of that company. That's umbrella branding. One brand name for all the products. Let's take the example here. Amul, the taste of India. It has one brand name for all its different products like milk, butter, cheese, ice cream, paneer, or chocolates. Next, individual branding. So here in individual branding, a separate brand name, a different brand name is given to each of the product. That means each product will have its own brand name. Like here, Procter and Gamble, P&G, has different brand name for different products, as you see on the screen here. So we have come to the end of the chapter here, and I would like to give you some of the types of questions asked from this chapter. So we have here, state the differences between. So I've just taken two questions here to show what kind of questions are asked from this chapter here. You can say it's a kind of sample questions. Difference between persuasive and informative advertising, which we did yesterday. Product and institutional advertising. Justify a reason either for or against, kind of question here. Advertising is a social waste. Branding is a myth, not a reality. A branded product needs no advertisement. Write short notes on types of advertising. Now these questions are asked for 5 marks. Distinguish between advertising and publicity. Explain the role of publicity in brand promotion. What is a brand? How is it different from branding? What are the advantages of branding? So this is the end of today's class. Thank you.